So why don't we start off just your introductory remarks, things that you want to mention to the council before we start asking questions.
So, well, I appreciate the opportunity to be considered as the City of Pacific's mayor. I was on the Planning Commission for 4 years and was the chair when I was appointed to council in 2009 and then elected. I love this community. I've been a volunteer in this community for about 10 years now in various different activities, Earth Day, Pacific Day. I also sit on the board of directors for the Terry Home. I was the vice president for the Lions Club, and also was the chair of Pacific Partnerships for a while. So I got on the council because I really care about this community, and I wanted to participate in the community and make it a better place. And I feel that I can continue doing that and serving the citizens of Pacific to the best of my ability as the mayor. I'll leave it to questions.
Thank you. Questions? Councilmember Hulsey.
You answered one of the questions that I asked with John, so I won't ask you about the leadership and management.
Can't hear you.
She has answered one of the questions I asked of Councilmember Jones about leadership and management experience. So my question for you is, what direction do you see the city going in from here?
Well, from here, I see the city going forward, and we've got a good council that the mayor, if I was appointed mayor, that the council and the mayor would get along and we could work together. We have common goals to move the city forward and can get back on track and continue growing as we were 18 months ago. There's other things too regarding my leadership and management. I had 17 years retail management before I became a steam fitter in 1997. And through my apprenticeship class, too, the 5-year apprenticeship, I was awarded the Fitter of the Year when I turned out, and then worked out in the field for 12 years, and then started detailing, and now I've recently been promoted to the business development specialist, and I work out of our office where I go on monthly. They send me on training and leadership classes as well, so I get to continue and grow in that area as well.
Councilmember Putnam.
Roughly a third of the people in town who bothered to vote voted not to get rid of the mayor. What do we do going forward? What do you see the city doing going forward to heal that rift, to make it one community, not two?
Well, I think some of the concern in the community, there was lack of transparency. And there are some ideas that I have as far as moving forward to bring the community more together or back together, or at least be more transparent, more open. We used to have the 5th Monday meeting, and I would like to see those initiated, even if we had them here in council chambers. And if I was the mayor, I would invite citizens to come in and ask the mayor kind of thing. Give real open and transparent weekly reports on what's going on in the city, what our plans, what our goals are. I think it's really important that we get the citizens' trust in city government again and really try to nurture and foster that. I also think that one thing that might really help as far as bringing the community together is if we formed a committee that would be, called Rebuild Pacific or something, and had actual citizen input and meetings on different ideas that they had on ways that we can get our community thriving and growing again and fostering that community spirit once again. With all my community involvement, things that I've participated in, I feel that I'm a real good person for that position to foster that community involvement.
You mentioned here that recently you got into a new position of employment. Also, you mentioned that you're very heavily involved in some charitable organizations and everything. You do have your personal commitments also to do. How can you, and what time can you devote to this job?
So that's a good question. The good news is I don't have little ones at home. My daughter is grown, and the only people depending on me are my 2 little chihuahuas. I have a job that's not an 8-to-5 job. My job allows me to write my own schedule. And so I can arrange my schedule to be available at different times of the day. I did sit down with my employer and had a long conversation telling him there's time blocks that I'm going to have to set out each week to be able to spend in Pacific and be available should I get this appointment. And so I planned on that I would post a schedule on the door on the days that you can count on me being here and plus be accessible by cell phone. My other commitments, I think one thing in probably the last 6 months, I have spent a lot of my working hours meeting with different organizations on setting up some structure and some safeguards for the city to have in place. And I see probably about the same amount of time moving forward as working with the different cities and municipalities, whether it be King County Council or SBA, and the different city managers and council, mayors that have reached their hand out to help us. I've been meeting with them on a regular basis, trying to figure out what our plan is and some of the things that we should do. So I spend a lot of those times, those hours that are during the day that normally if somebody would be at their job, I just rearrange my schedule and work around it that way.
Further questions? Councilmember Walker.
Can you give us your 90-day plan to help the city kind of rebuild?
So one of the first things that, and I think a lot of people have heard me say, I'm real concerned about our financial situation and what our budget looks like and what each department looks like and how it's funded. So I really want to know where we are. I think that's a priority to find out where we are financially. I'm real concerned about the shortage in the police department. And I'd like to be able to afford that, especially looking at the numbers last night and how much we're paying in overtime and just in the 6 months with the shortage in the police department. I believe the citizens of Pacific deserve to have the protection that they pay for. So we need to be able to take a look at that. I want to know that. I want to know what each of the needs are in each department and what their goals are so that we can work together on trying to get those goals moving forward and building in those departments and making each department more stable and functioning and interacting with each other. I'd also like to see, like I said, some more community involvement, community input from the citizens, setting up meetings where we can, ask the mayor, be more transparent, try to get more information out there, see what we can do about getting everything on track, all the, the clerical stuff put together and all of our ordinances listed and our minutes posted and try to get our website up and running. Just some real basic things so that the citizens have easier access to us and it's more transparent. They can see and get the information without having to ask a lot of questions. One of the things that really saddens me in our community right now is there's a lot of distrust, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's things out there people don't understand, they don't know, or they've heard this or they've heard that, and I think we really need to be open and transparent and get that message out there, and that would be my number one thing to strive for.
I have a question I'm going to build on that, and it's a little bit repetitive with other questions and maybe some answers that you've already given, but I think it's worth asking. We've known, it's been pretty clear over the last 18, 19 months, and maybe a couple of months before that, that there about that time, 18, 19 months ago, there started to develop 2 real distinct camps in Pacific. There's those who were with Sty and those who were against him, and there wasn't a whole lot of middle ground throughout that time. And of course, that's grown, and that divide has gone wider and deeper as the months have gone on. I didn't expect at this point, having spent a day sitting in the mayor's chair, I wouldn't have expected the big impression upon me to be the issue of healing in our community. I would have thought that budget and personnel complaints and staffing vacancies and goal setting, those sorts of things would be really the larger need. I think clearly they're the most immediate need and tangible need, but at the end of the day, the big impression on me is that divide in our community, and I see it frankly within some of our staff as well. That was a big surprise to me to see, a little bit of that sense among our staff of coming out from a pretty stressful situation in the last 18 months, and frankly, being just as stressed not knowing what the next couple of months looks like for them. that's a big deal. And like I said, I'm really surprised that that's, I'm not the touchy-feely guy, but I'm the one, worried about healing in our community. And how do you do that?
Well, that's a good question. I have that in my own neighborhood, where there are neighbors that we used to be really close and we're not so much anymore. It's like, I think the rift that you talk about, or the divide, is pretty deep, and I think a lot of us are feeling it in our own neighborhood. And it's a matter of, I don't want to talk about the past. I want to just okay, here's the clean slate, here's today, let's move forward. And I think if somebody were to take the time and sit down with each of the departments and talk about, and be very clear and open about what the agenda is, what the goals are, and work together towards those, I think it's going to be obvious to those people, everybody that in the department, that's what we want to do, that's our goal. And I know it's council's goal, it would be my goal as the mayor, that we need to mend our community. It's everywhere in our community. It saddens me. I'm somebody that, I volunteered for the community quite a bit. I would walk into City Hall. If I told my daughter I was going to go get something, she knew it was going to be 2 hours before I got home. I would walk in, everybody would talk to me. We'd always, converse. We'd talk about this, we'd talk about that. I couldn't go down the hall without stopping and talking to almost every single employee in the city. It doesn't happen anymore. Everybody's afraid, nobody wants to talk to council, and I really want that to go away. We're all in this together. We care about Pacific. The employees that are here now and stayed through all of this, they obviously love this community. They stayed, they got through it, and so whoever becomes the mayor needs to foster those people, those feelings, and build on that, and just bring everybody together and know that, I always joke around that we'll just build a fire out in the parking lot and sing Kumbaya, so. Not a reality, but I think about it. This city is made up of some great citizens. There are a lot of people. There are times when we had the flood, 4:30 in the morning, I show up out in the parking lot, out in the senior center. There are people standing there by candlelight almost. There's one post and we're filling sandbags trying to help all those residents that live in White River Estates. I was there for the whole weekend. I camped out pretty much at the senior center. People were coming in from all over the place on Saturday to help everybody in White River Estates. That's how our community is. That's how the citizens of this community are. And that's what I truly love about that. And I want to see us like that again. We had the freeze. We opened up the senior center, and people came. They brought food. They brought whatever we need. What can we do to help? How can we help each other? That's what I like about this community, and I want to foster that. And I know we can get there. I know it takes somebody with a great love of the community probably to get there. I'm nervous. You guys are my friends.
Councilmember Hulsey.
A lot of unfounded allegations made by the previous mayor. How do you plan to clear those allegations up and regain the trust of the community?
I don't want to focus on those allegations. I don't want to focus on unfounded things. I want a clean slate. I want to move forward with today. This is today's reality. This is what we know to be true today. That's why I'd like to get in with each of these departments, with our financial situation. This is it, black and white. Here we are. Let's move forward. And by fostering an open and transparent government, you can heal those wounds. You can get the message out there. It's going to take a little time. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think you can get there. And I don't want to focus on what happened in the past. I want to start fresh and move forward. I think one way that would be a really good way for us to do that too is schedule a retreat. Trent and I met with somebody that was with a consulting group, and they have a retreat, and they also suggested it would be a really good thing for the mayor and council to do now as we get together, have a retreat, talk about what our goals, our plans, what we want to do as a whole to move the city forward. Include the department heads. Everybody work as one, same goals, same ideas, and move forward.
Further questions? Councilor Steiger.
You touched briefly on the police department situation. I'd like to elaborate on that just a little bit more. We have a situation where we've been on a freeze for who knows how long. There's been 2 positions approved in the budget. The council directed the mayor to go ahead and fill those positions. The mayor said he was going to, and then he has consistently, for one reason or another, found an excuse not to do this. We have these two applicants are ready to go to work immediately, and so what would be your plans as far as actually putting those people on the street?
So, as I said, I think public safety is number one, and I'm really concerned about the officers that are working the extra hours and all the overtime. I'm concerned about their safety, I'm concerned about the citizens' safety, and I would love to fill those two positions. I'm real concerned too where we are financially, how much we have overspent that budget by paying all the overtime. So I think without making a promise that I would fill those, that would be my number one goal, to fill those positions for the citizens, but without knowing exactly where we sit budget-wise, I don't want to promise that and then say I can't do it.
Further questions? Councilor Walker.
Can you describe your management style for us?
Oh, that's a good question. It's been a while. I think the number one thing about management is the manager is only as good as the people that work for them. I think it's really important to foster people's abilities and let them design. It's like, what I would do is, I would say, this is our end game. This is the goal we want to get to, and not micromanage and tell them step by step by step how to get there. Allow them to get there on their own with some guidance and, some oversight, but not to micromanage. I think when we all sit down and have a goal and we know exactly where we want to go, what the end game is, that we can get there. I think sometimes I'm too nice, and then sometimes I can be a little stern if I really believe in something and I stay steadfast in it. I can admit when I'm wrong, and I try to correct it and learn from my mistakes. But for the most part, I think I'm a pretty fair person. Does that answer your question?
Further questions? Councilor Putnam.
Understand your desire to move forward, but there are a lot of lingering doubts, lingering claims out there. How do you see getting a resolution on those?
I think by just walking my talk, just by proving that I'm open and fair, answering questions as they come up, not be secretive, not backdoorish, just upfront, honest. It's going to take a while. One thing that I guess I learned as being a steam fitter in a male-dominant trade, I had to learn to get some thick skin. And I'm pretty sure that there are going to be people that are going to let me know they're not friends of mine, and I'll have to deal with that. But by listening and opening and listening to them and hearing what they have to say, and being responsive to it, I think that's going to help at least gain some sort of trust. Not everybody's going to be my friend, and the number one thing that I will be looking at is the greater good. What is the best for the most people in the city?
Further questions?
I have one, but I can find it.
While Councilor Walker's looking for his question, any others? Question.
Are you mocking me?
I'm a Pisces.
That was it. So why should we pick you? What's in it for you?
My love of this community. I really love this community, and I want to see it to continue to grow and foster as we work. I believe I can do that. I think with my experience in my community involvement and my proven leadership as your council president for the last 18 months, I think I've shown some leadership skills there. And just the true love of the community. I wouldn't have stuck it out. I wouldn't have put in all the hours that I have if I did not care about this community. I want to see it thrive and prosper as we have. And we will. You always take something that you find and leave it better, right?
Any executive position does inevitably involve some unpleasant actions. Do you have any experience with having to terminate anyone, lay anyone off, discipline people in the workplace?
Unfortunately, yes. 17 years of retail management, I've had that experience a few times. It's not a pleasant one. I've been called a few names. I'm somebody that would like to give somebody every opportunity to not be in that position. to prove themselves. That's, firing is a last resort, and there's also a process that you need to follow as well, but I don't like to do that, but when it's going to be for the best situation or the best choice for the city, then I would have to do that. My number one priority is going to be to serve the citizens of Pacific to the best of my ability. And so that will always be a consideration in any decisions that I make.
Any final questions? None? Thank you much. Would you mind grabbing John?
No problem. Is it like 900 degrees in here?